Imagine this for a moment. You slide open the door to your home after a long, exhausting day, and before you even take off your shoes, something subtle happens. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing slows. The noise of the outside world feels like it has been gently dimmed, not because your house is big or expensive or perfectly styled for social media, but because it has been quietly shaping your nervous system all along. In Japan, the home is not just a shelter from the weather. It is not a storage unit for possessions, nor a backdrop for productivity. It is treated as a living space that actively influences how you think, how you rest, and how you move through life. And once you understand this philosophy, it becomes impossible to see your home the same way again. In many modern societies, homes are filled aggressively. Every empty corner must be used. Every wall must speak. Furniture crowds the floor, objects stack upon objects, and clutter slowly becomes invisible through familiarity. But in traditional Japanese thinking, space itself is not emptiness to be feared. Space is presence. Space is breath. Space is what allows the mind to settle. This idea is often described through the concept of the meaningful pause between things, the silence between notes and music, the open space between furniture that allows energy and movement to flow. When you walk into a Japanese home influenced by this philosophy, you don't feel like something is missing. You feel like something has been intentionally allowed to exist. The floor is often bare, not because the people are minimalist for aesthetic reasons, but because the body needs room to move freely. Light filters softly through paper screens, instead of being blasted from overhead fixtures, creating shadows that shift gently throughout the day. Wood surfaces show their grain and imperfections, telling quiet stories of time and use. Nothing screams for attention, and because of that, everything feels more alive. Your eyes are not jumping from object to object, and your mind is not being pulled in a dozen directions at once. Calm becomes the default, not something you have to work hard to achieve. This philosophy also changes how objects are treated. In many homes, items are kept just in case, accumulating guilt along with dust. But in Japanese home culture, objects are expected to earn their place, not through usefulness alone, but through relationship. There is a quiet respect for the things that serve daily life. A teacup is not just a container. It is held, washed, dried, and returned to its place with care. A table is not something you abandon once you stand up. It is wiped, reset, acknowledged. These small acts are not chores performed begrudgingly. They are subtle rituals that anchor the mind in the present moment. Cleaning, within this philosophy, is quietly removed from the realm of obligation and placed into the rhythm of living itself, where it no longer carries the weight of judgment or urgency, but instead becomes something almost invisible, something done in passing, the way you might straighten your posture or take a deeper breath without consciously deciding to. It is not postponed until the house feels out of control, nor is it triggered by the anxiety of someone else's gaze, because the purpose is not to perform cleanliness for others, but to care for a space that is actively supporting your life every single day. When a floor is swept in the morning or a counter is wiped after a meal, the action is unhurried and quiet, and in that simplicity, something internal begins to shift, as though the mind itself is being gently brushed clean, releasing fragments of stress, scattered thoughts, and emotional residue that accumulate just as invisibly as dust. This is why the practice of students cleaning their own classrooms in Japan carries such lasting significance, not as a cost-saving measure or a disciplinary tool, but as an early lesson in stewardship, teaching that shared spaces reflect shared responsibility, and that care is not something outsourced or delayed, but something embodied through daily action. Children learn, without being told directly, that the environments they occupy are not separate from them. That neglect eventually returns as discomfort, and that attention, even in its smallest forms, has the power to shape character. Over time, cleaning ceases to feel like a task imposed from the outside, and instead becomes an expression of respect, both for the space itself and for the people who move through it. Alongside this gentle maintenance exists an equally gentle acceptance of imperfection, where the home is not expected to remain frozen in an ideal state. untouched by time or human presence. This is where the philosophy of wabi-sabi enters almost unnoticed, like a soft shadow moving across the floor, reminding us that beauty does not reside in flawlessness, but in authenticity. The faint scratches etched into a wooden floor are not marks of carelessness. They are quiet records of footsteps, furniture shifted, lives unfolding. A bowl that has been chipped is not immediately dismissed as ruined, because its value is not erased by damage. In some cases, it is repaired with gold, transforming the break into a visible seam that honors the object's history rather than concealing it. This way of seeing softens the constant pressure to preserve a home in a pristine, unchanging state, and in doing so, it releases the people who live there from the exhausting pursuit of perfection. The home becomes something organic, something that ages slowly and honestly, gathering texture and depth over time, much like the people within it. When wear and tear are no longer treated as enemies, there is a subtle emotional shift, a quiet relief that comes from no longer fighting reality, from allowing life to leave its mark without shame. Routine, too, plays a central role, not in the form of rigid schedules that demand obedience, but as gentle patterns that offer stability in an unpredictable world. Morning rituals unfold with familiarity, evening rituals signal rest, and seasonal rituals mark the passage of time, creating a rhythm that the body begins to recognize and trust. These repeated actions, however small, provide a sense of continuity, reassuring the nervous system that there is structure beneath the chaos, that not everything is uncertain. When life feels overwhelming, these rituals act as anchors, grounding the mind in the present through repetition and care. Bathing offers one of the clearest expressions of this philosophy. It is not approached as a hurried necessity, squeezed between obligations, but as a deliberate transition, a space set aside for restoration rather than efficiency. The body is cleansed first, slowly and attentively, before sinking into hot water that envelops the muscles, loosening tension that has been carried unnoticed throughout the day. The lighting is often dim, the atmosphere hushed, and in that stillness, thoughts begin to drift and dissolve. The bath becomes a threshold between the external world and the private self, a ritual that signals not just physical cleanliness, but emotional release, marking the end of one day and the beginning of rest. This same attentiveness flows naturally into the way meals are approached within the home. Even the simplest food is treated with care, arranged thoughtfully, served with intention, and eaten without haste. Meals are not reduced to fuel consumed absent-mindedly while standing or scrolling, but are recognized as moments of nourishment meant to be experienced fully. The soft sound of chopsticks resting against ceramic, the rising steam from a bowl of soup, the balance of flavors unfolding gradually on the tongue, these sensory details ground the body in the present moment. When eating becomes mindful, the home itself begins to feel supportive, a place that replenishes rather than drains energy. Furniture, too, reflects this understanding of the body's needs. Low tables and floor seating are not aesthetic choices designed to impress, but practical responses that encourage grounding and presence. Sitting closer to the floor subtly slows movement, making transitions between standing, sitting, and resting more deliberate and conscious. Multi-purpose furniture and adaptable spaces further reduce mental strain by removing unnecessary complexity. A room does not need to declare itself as only one thing. It can transform throughout the day, accommodating rest, work, conversation, or silence as needed, allowing life to unfold naturally rather than forcing it into rigid categories. Storage follows the same quiet logic. Possessions are not hidden out of embarrassment, but tucked away to protect the mind from constant stimulation. Sliding doors conceal shelves, cabinets blend seamlessly into walls, and visual simplicity becomes a form of mental relief. When everything is visible all the time, the eyes are never allowed to rest, and attention becomes fragmented. But when objects are revealed only when they are needed, they regain meaning, and the space itself feels intentional, calm, and breathable. Light completes this philosophy, shaping the emotional tone of the home as much as its physical form. Natural light is welcomed and softened, filtered through curtains or screens that diffuse its intensity, allowing it to shift gently throughout the day. Artificial lighting is layered rather than overwhelming, with lamps casting warm pools of illumination instead of flooding rooms with harsh brightness. Shadows are not eliminated, but embraced, adding depth and intimacy. Darkness is not treated as something to be conquered, but as a necessary counterpart to light, creating balance and atmosphere. In this interplay between brightness and shadow, the home feels alive, responsive, and deeply human. Together, these elements form a way of living that transforms the home from a static backdrop into an active participant in daily life, quietly shaping habits, emotions, and inner states until the line between caring for the space and caring for oneself begins to blur. Seasonality also shapes the Japanese home. Decorations change subtly with the seasons. Fabrics become lighter or heavier. Colors shift. Certain items are brought out while others are stored away. This constant, gentle adaptation keeps the home aligned with the natural world, reminding the occupants that life moves in cycles. Nothing is meant to stay the same forever, and that is not something to fear. When you begin to see your home through this philosophy, something profound happens. You stop asking how your home looks, and you start asking how it feels. Does this space support rest? Does it encourage clarity? Does it allow you to breathe? You realize that peace is not something you find outside after a long day. It is something you return to, something that has been waiting quietly for you all along. You also begin to notice how your habits change. You put things back more naturally. You clean as you go without resentment. You become more selective about what enters your space, not out of restriction, but out of respect. Your home becomes lighter, and so do you. The external order gently influences internal calm, without force, without pressure. This philosophy does not demand perfection. It does not require expensive furniture, traditional architecture, or cultural imitation. It simply asks for awareness. Awareness of space, awareness of routine, awareness of how your environment shapes your inner world. You can apply it anywhere. In a small apartment, a shared space, a single room, even one intentional corner can begin to change how you experience your home. And over time, you may realize that this philosophy extends beyond walls and furniture. It changes how you move through life itself. You become more present, more patient, more attuned to the quiet moments that once went unnoticed. Your home stops being a place you escape to and becomes a place that restores you. Because, in the end, the Japanese philosophy of home is not really about homes at all. It is about learning to live gently, to create spaces that support who you are becoming, and to recognize that peace is often built slowly, through small, intentional choices made every single day. And if this way of seeing the world resonated with you, if it made you pause and look around your own space a little differently, then you are already part of the story we tell here. This is Tick World Chronicles, where history, philosophy, and culture come alive through quiet details and timeless ideas. If you enjoyed this journey, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes, the smallest shifts in perspective can change everything.